Welcome to worship here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Shelter Rock. And it's not raining, and it's the weekend. It's a beautiful fall day. Having grown up in Michigan, I much appreciate the fall. I grew up with two seasons, winter and preparation for winter, which in other places is known as spring and fall. So I'm the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, lead minister here at Shelter Rock, along with the associate ministers, the Reverend David Carl Olson and the Reverend Israel Bufardi, and our student minister this year, Dana Moore. Ours is a liberal religious tradition with a very long history. We embrace religious pluralism. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. There is a place for you here. We are a community of justice seekers who value diversity and make room for spiritual growth and questioning. We embrace science, reason, and the many gifts of the Spirit, the openness of the heart. We see the wisdom found in all cultures and faiths as ways to help us to explore life's meaning and mystery. And I would add, not to solve life's meaning and mysteries, but to continually be in relationship with them. I want to say that UUCSR had the privilege of hosting a youth conference here this weekend. There was a lot of energy all over the building, for which we are grateful. And I want to thank the volunteers, the adult volunteers and chaperones and staff who made all that possible. It's always wonderful when we can be a place that holds our many generations. And I want to ask you to join us next Sunday when we have a guest, Pablo de Jesus, the executive director of the UUs for Social Justice. There will also be a discussion after he preaches, so please stay and enjoy and have an opportunity to go back and forth about who we are as a justice-seeking people in some actual on-the-ground ways. This is Native American Heritage Month, and we acknowledge that this land is the home place of the indigenous Matintok of Manhasset Bay, and we are but the present trustees of this land, and only a part of its past and its ongoing history. Also, today, we will recognize the Hindu, Jain, and Sikh festival of Diwali. Diwali actually will be next Sunday, November 12th, but we're going to talk about it and explore it here today at UUCSR in our religious education program. And the religious education program invites all of you to join them for a special Diwali lunch feast after the service, and there will be a dance troupe for you to enjoy. Diwali is a celebration that recognizes the victory of light over darkness, of good over evil, of knowledge over ignorance. We can all hope that it will be so.
Again, welcome. I'm Ursula Salamone. I'm an elected member of the UUCSR Board of Trustees. I encourage you to visit our welcome desk in the lobby to get more information about Unitarian Universalism and this congregation. We're currently engaged in membership renewal. Please remember to make your pledge and financial contribution today, online or at the table in the lobby. I want to invite all of you, UUCSR members, to the congregational meeting after this service at 1 p.m. An important gift and responsibility of a membership is being able to discuss and vote on the congregation's future. Please, please do so. Thank you.
And now, with open hearts and minds, may we worship together. We now light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with these words from Lisa Friedman. I'd like you to follow along with these words as best you can. We touch the floor to remember that whenever we bring our best selves to a place, it is holy ground. We reach for the sky to remember that we are part of a mystery bigger than ourselves. We hold hands to remember that we need one another and are part of a human family. We join voices to remember that we each have a gift to offer the world and to use in making the world a better place. Please say your name to the person next to you. Please stand, rise, and body your spirit to sing hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Please remain standing for our words and song of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The truth is its prayer, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve in need. These we affirm and covenant with each other. Thank you. Please be seated. I offer this reading the words of Adrienne Marie Brown from her book, Emergent Strategies. Do you already know that your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and places around you? Not after or because you do some particular thing, but simply the miracle of your life. And the people around you and the places have contributions as well. Do you understand that your quality of life and your survival are tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between you and the people and places you live with and in? Are you actually practicing generosity and vulnerability in order to make the connections between you and others clear, open, available, durable? Generosity here means that giving of what you have without strings or expectations attached is how we are. Vulnerability means showing your need. Please rise in body or spirit to sing together hymn 128, For All That Is Our Life. Please be seated. Each Sunday, we take a special collection which extends our vision of the beloved community by supporting work in the world which addresses human need. In the words of the Reverend Victoria Weinstein, the purpose of this congregation is to encourage all who gathered here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering which allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit. UUCSR's worship offerings for this month will provide the funds to purchase Thanksgiving turkeys so that families in need may enjoy the pleasure of a holiday meal together. Imagine people sitting together, sharing a meal, having an opportunity to express their love for one another, to tell their family stories, to sit across generations connected. Imagine yourself being generous enough to give that to another. That is what this collection will do. And so I ask you to give as generously as you can. The ways to contribute are on the screen, but feel free to be old school and put a check or cash in the donation box in the lobby. Your gifts are received in the spirit of love in which they were given. We are grateful. In this time, we take a moment of silence, meditation, and prayer. I will offer words from the Native American poet, Joy Harjo. These works speak to the devastation of war, which is ever present in our minds now. But it is not of the current war, but of the war experienced here in the United States, the war of this government fought against the Native peoples. But her words hold all the pain and hurt and hope that is found in the human heart. How to Write a Poem in a Time of War by Joy Harjo. You can't begin just anywhere, it's a wreck. Shrapnel and the eye of the house, a row of houses, there is a rat scrambling from light with freshly trash in its mouth, a baby strapped to its mother's back, cut loose. Soldiers crawl the city, the river, the town, the village. The bedroom, our kitchen, they eat everything or burn it. They kill what they cannot take. They rape what they cannot kill. They take. Rumors fall like rain, like bombs. Like mother and father, tears swallowed for restless peace. Like sunlight slanting toward a moonless midnight. Like a train blown free of its destination. Like a seed fallen where there is no chance for trees or any place for birds to live. No, start here. Deer peer from the edge of the woods. We used to see woodpeckers the size of the sun, red birds, and were greeted by chickadees with their good morning songs. We'd started to cook outside, slippery with dew and laughter. Ah, those smoky, wet sunrises. We tried to pretend war wasn't going to happen. Though they began building their houses all around us and demanding more. They started teaching our children their God's stories, a story in which we'd always be slaves. No, not here. You can't begin here. This is memory shredded because it is impossible to hold by words, even poetry. These memories were left here with the trees. the torn pocket of your daughter's hand-sewn dress, the sash, the lace, the baby's delicately beaded moccasins still connected to the foot, a young man's note of promise to his beloved. No, this is not the best place to begin. Everyone was asleep despite the distant bombs. Terror had become the familiar stranger. Our beloved twin girls, curled up in their nightgowns, sat next to their father and me. If we begin here, none of us will make it to the end. If we begin here, none of us will make it to the end of the poem. Someone has to make it out alive, sang a grandfather to his grandson, his granddaughter, as he blew his most powerful song into the hearts of the children. There it would be hidden from the soldiers, who would take them miles, rivers, mountains from the naval court place of the origin story. He knew one day, far day, the grandchildren would return, generation later, over slick highways, constructed over old trails, through walls of laws meant to hamper or destroy, over the libraries of the ancestors in the winds born in stones. His song brings us to the home place in these smoky hills. Begin here. How would you write a poem in a time of war? These are the words of John Gilbert Wynant. We must remember that it is the things of the Spirit that in the end prevail, that caring counts, that where there is no vision, the people perish, that hope and faith count, and that without charity, there can be nothing good. That by daring to live dangerously, we are learning to live generously. And that by believing in the inherent goodness of man, we may strive forward into the unknown with confidence. Thank you, choir. Nathaniel, Stephen. Our Unitarian ancestor, writer, and transcendentalist theologian Ralph Waldo Emerson, probably heard that name around here before, wrote these words about giving. He said, "Rings and jewels are not gifts. The only gift is a portion of thyself." The only gift is a portion of thyself. Now, I am one of those people who spends a lot of time choosing gifts. I can tell you now, and I'm not ashamed of it, I am already looking for gifts of the season. Because I want the present I give to be just right. I want the gift to be a reflection of what I know about that person, what they want. What do they need? I ask myself. What would they really use? I don't want to give people things that just end up in the back of the closet. What would make them happy to receive it? But sometimes it's really hard to choose the right gift. And not just because I cannot figure out the other person, not because they already have everything, but actually because I get in the way of giving, because I'm really, perhaps in the corner of my brain, thinking about what I'm going to get in return. A thank you, a gift from them, or even just a smile. When I am open-hearted and open-handed and not thinking about myself, when I'm enjoying the wonder of my intention, when I'm concentrating on the joy of the giving itself, it goes so much better. Things seem to work best when I fully engage my own spirit of generosity, when I give a portion of myself. Generosity at its most basic is actually simple kindness. It is easy to give. It is easy to give a gift because that gift can be a smile, a hand. All the ways in which we can express a generous spirit are there for us at every moment. But it can be so hard to remember to do the kind thing, the simple, kind thing. So often we don't remember how much it matters to be generous of spirit toward those around us, just next to us, in our house, in our neighborhood, in this congregation. So often we forget how much it is we have to give, how we can so often give what we have without any hurt or harm to ourselves. Why is it that we struggle so much at just being nice, at just being kind, at just giving a little of ourselves? Perhaps it is because in this time, and perhaps in all times, we are fearful. And of course, there is in this time and of all time something to actually be afraid of. So often we turn away from one another. I sometimes feel that, unfortunately, the pandemic masking has helped people turn away from each other even more easily. This was not a really high eye contact town to begin with. And now there's this tendency I see when I walk around for people to lower their eyes and turn away. I'm never sure when I'm encountering someone on the sidewalk if we are actually going to collide, because nobody has done that check that you do. Am I going to the right? Are you going to the left? There is this moment when I sometimes wonder, do they even know that another human being is here? And so I rejoice when someone in the street or at the grocery store makes eye contact with me. I actually rejoice. It is a good day. What I want to feel when I walk around is that I am treated with dignity as I move through the world. That another person will treat me with dignity, that everyone will treat me with dignity as I walk through the world, acknowledging my presence as the ultimate kindness, the ultimate show of generosity of spirit. Generosity of spirit does require us to be brave, to push past our fears of one another, our fears of the other, those not like us, perhaps even those who have caused us harm in the past, or who we believe might cause us harm in the future. We must try to be kind. We must want to be generous, to know that we need one another, that we have to reach for hope. Now, I was not a fan of the TV show Friends. I will admit that. I was not. I did not watch it. However, with the death of Matthew Perry, there is this story going around, kind of a Hollywood story, of generosity. When two of the actors in Cheers were offered more salary than the others, they refused. They said, "We are a family. We are actually friends, and we're going to act accordingly, and we're going to stay together, and we will all agree to make the same amount of money. We will say to the powers that be," they did, "that it isn't a show about one or two people. It's a show about all of us, and we each make it happen. So we have to be recognized as equals." Now, this resulted, of course, in all of them ending up making $1 million an episode. Each. Now, this is a particular Hollywood story, and I don't think that it's going to happen for most of us. However, I lift this up because of the way they thought about one another. And I hope that's the way we think about one another, that we can't be separated so much. As the Unitarian Universalist Association is now revisiting its statement of principles, generosity is being explored as a core value of Unitarian Universalism. As Unitarian Universalists, we are asked that we may cultivate a spirit of generosity when we live with gratitude and hope. When we covenant freely and compassionately to share our faith, our presence, our resources. When we see that our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. I think it's the interdependence that throws us sometimes. We have to acknowledge that we need, that we aren't always going to be in charge, that we aren't always going to be able to be out there taking care of everything ourselves. We need to know that we can depend on each other when we are in need. So our commitment to this congregation as a community of generosity is expressed in many ways. As we did today, we each a time when we gather for worship, we take an offering. And this is an expression of our generosity out to the world. This outward-facing generosity is also present in the congregation's commitment to support social justice out in the world through grant making in the VEACH program. And our outward generosity when we do a crisis grant, as we have for Ukraine, for Haiti, for New Orleans, as we will for future future catastrophes, which we know, unfortunately, will happen. So I say this is outward-facing generosity because it's giving to those who may not ever be in this room, who may not ever be with us for worship. But really, this giving is not separate from us. It is actually an embrace of others, a widening of our circle of care and compassion, an acknowledgement that it doesn't always matter whether you're in the room because you're in our hearts. All that is here is an expression of our generous invitation to others. And even when those who receive our generosity are not right next to us, the lives of others are enriched by the gifts that we give, and our lives are enriched by the giving. It is also not a case of noblesse oblige, which Emerson called the superior advantage which blinds you to the larger generosity. Gifts coming from the heart open us to our interconnections and affirm our common life. In this time of our membership renewal here at UUCSR, we are also considering our gifts to this faith home itself. When we become members of this congregation, we give of our time, our talent, and of our treasure. And we ask that each of us designate a portion of what we have to the work of this congregation, to the making of this community. Like those people who stayed up all night with the youth here this weekend, and who will be sleeping for days afterwards. When you pay your pledged financial contribution to this, our common ministry, your larger generosity becomes an expression of your inner commitment to the values and mission of this community, of Unitarian Universalism and its principles, of the covenant we share. We are called to be generous supporters of this congregation because, in the words of John Wolfe, there is only one reason for joining a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and that is to support it. We want to support it because it stands against superstition and fear. We want to support it because this congregation points to what is noble and best in human life. We want to support it because it is open to people, whatever race, religion, creed, color, place of origin, gender identity, or sexual orientation. We want to support it because it is a place where children can learn that religion is for joy, for comfort, for gratitude, and for love. Such is our hope for this, our coming together. But as I said at the beginning, it's not always easy to give. And being a generous people, a generous community, having generosity of spirit does not always come easily. Sometimes people get in the way of your trying to be nice to them. When that happens, I try to remember all the ways I have gotten in the way of people trying to be nice to me. Try to do better. To quote the prophet James Baldwin, who was unfortunately not a Unitarian Universalist, Baldwin said this: "It is rare indeed that people give. Most people guard and keep. They suppose that it is they themselves and what they identify with themselves that they are guarding and keeping, whereas what they are actually guarding and keeping is their system of reality and what they assume themselves to be." Being generous and acknowledging debt to one another, interconnection, need, gratitude. This can mean standing up against our culture that tells us that other things are important. Our culture that can praise a person more for acquiring, for hoarding, than for giving. We tell our young children otherwise, of course. We tell them that it's better to give than to receive. But you saw them on Halloween. It's hard. But you know, we know that they soon learn other lessons. We've all grown up learning the lesson of how success and importance is earned by what you keep and not what you give away. Remember the movie Wall Street, greed is good. There are other cultures which can teach us other ways. There is the native potlatch culture. The potlatch is a gift-giving feast practiced by indigenous peoples in the US and Canada. Among them, the Chinook, the Haida, the Tlingit, the Salish, and the Dene people. In the potlatch ritual, those who are leaders host a gathering and a feast, a grand feast, and there, valuable things are given away or destroyed. Because symbols of wealth are not the true symbols of power or status. It is an important way to distribute resources and shows that a leadership role is to make sure that everyone is provided for. That respect can be gained by giving and not hoarding. In a potlatch culture, the rich who do not share with the people are pitied because they have become lesser people. It is generosity which is the honored and honorable action, the true sign of leadership and importance. The potlatch was considered so alien to Western consumer culture that it was made illegal by the Canadian government from 1885 to 1951. Still, the native peoples continued to practice the ritual, sometimes in secret and at risk of police action against them. Generosity defined them as a people, and they would not let it go. This was their understanding of who they were and how they wished to be in the world. They had chosen how to be in the world. What have we chosen to be? Have we chosen to be a generous people, and how do we show that spirit of generosity? In what ways is generosity a core value of this congregation, of this community, of us as individuals? We can learn so much from listening to the learning from all the cultures of the world, traditions which are sometimes made to feel that they're on the margins of Unitarian Universalism. We can bring them to the center. We should explore all the dimensions of generosity that might add more love, more hope, more gratitude, more justice to this, our faith community. I hope we do. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1012, When I Am Frightened.
When
all have so many needs, 1,000 prayers, 1,000 needs that really need one answer. Let the world not be indifferent. And may we live and be with each other in the ways that show this truth, whatever the days bring, that neither are we indifferent to each other. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.